The American dream has run out of gas. The car has stopped. It no longer supplies the world with its images, its dreams, its fantasies. No more, it's over. This quote from J.G. Ballard, a famous novelist, is the perfect example of the main idea of what I'm trying to get across to you. The bottom line is that there's no more American dream. If there's no more American dream, how can it be practical? Here are just a few reasons as to why there's no more American dream, thus supporting the resolution, resolved that the American dream is impractical. First, maybe at one time, a long time ago, it was more present in people's dreams. But not only has it always been very hard to obtain, now more than ever, it is nearly impossible. Before I get into why the American dream is impractical, I would like to define a few terms. Impractical is defined as not practical or useful, or not making sense. I would also like to define the American dream, but as we'll be able to see later, the term American dream is just simply indefinable. Let's go back to the point I was making. The American dream has become just too hard to obtain. One of the main reasons is because it is virtually impossible for anyone who is not upper class or well connected in the world to achieve any sort of American dream. A reference in an editorial on hubpages.com was made relating the American dream now to the American dream in Ben Franklin's time. One of the main things people seek for in the American dream is wealth. Well, promising wealth to all who seek this dream is what makes it impractical. Maybe this worked for Ben Franklin, but he was not just your average Joe starting his own business. He was extremely intelligent and had more resources, from his privileged uncle to his charm, good luck, and wits, to make his story a success. Who are the majority of people dreaming the American dream? Middle to lower class people. Who are the majority of people living the American dream? Upper class people, according to the National League of Cities Survey of the American People. Not only did all of these things I mentioned help Ben Franklin, but the time period he lived in also helped him achieve his dream. The same editorial explains it was a much simpler time back then. But let's not go all the way back to Ben Franklin's time. Let's look at America during the 1950s. In fact, I'll use an example. How about A Raisin in the Sun? Now, I know this story is mostly fiction, but is based on the author's real-life experiences. To make a long story short, because I know, if not all, most of you have read this play, Walter and Ruth Younger and their son Travis, along with Walter's mother and his sister, live in poverty in a depleted one-bedroom apartment on Chicago's South Side. Walter's barely making a living, and although they say they are content, Ruth and Walter's mother would really like more. What they desire most is to move to an actual home, not an apartment. They pick one in a pretty much all-white neighborhood. You can see what one of their obvious conflicts might be. Well, at the end of this play, although having to overcome many obstacles, they achieve their American dream. Okay, well now you're probably wondering how all this ties into the American dream being impractical. Well, that was over 50 years ago. Times have changed. The American dream is not what it used to be. Oklahoma resident John Smith says, I mean, who really wants a white picket fence these days anyway? Those are so out of style. Well, John, I couldn't have said it better myself. Who really wants a white picket fence these days? How many of you live in a home that has at least 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a 2-car garage? Most of you? Well, if we're already living the American dream, what is left to dream about? This brings me right to why the American dream is indefinable. We've come to a time in history where people are no longer seeking for the original American dream. It has become too personal. Everyone wants something different in and out of life. You have people who want to be actors and actresses, athletes, pop stars, lawyers, teachers. They want to cure cancer. They want to invent a new way to travel. With these entire different things people dream about, there's no clear-cut American dream. Now, you could make the point that these are individual American dreams, but when you hear someone talk about their dreams, they say, my dream is to become an actress, not my American dream is to become an actress. Going back to how the American dream has become too personal, we get into personal barriers. Things like race, age, marriage, location, financial stability, and more things. 53% of African Americans said they are not living the American dream, as opposed to 32% of Caucasians who say they're not living the American dream. 52% of single parents say they aren't living the American dream, as opposed to 27% of married parents who say they're not living the American dream. 52% of people who rent a home say they're not living the American dream, as opposed to only 28% of homeowners who say they're not living the American dream. In conclusion, there are many reasons why the American dream is impractical. Not only is it harder to obtain this in this day and age, it has become too personal and practically indefinable. Thank you, and I urge an affirmative ballot.